Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Prove Me Wrong podcast. As always, I'm your host, Pete Lieb. The podcast goes back to the movies tonight. I know none of you have seen the inside of an AMC or a Cinemark in months. So when we go to the movies here, we do it from the comfort of our own homes. And to make it more entertaining, I've had my movie aficionado, Dale Baker. He's back in the studio with me tonight. My pal, he's a friend of the program, riding a white steed of self-righteousness. He stinks of success and exudes machismo. It's almost nauseating his self-confidence. He's a lamb to the slaughter for me tonight. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Here it comes, right?
Right off the rip.
So the events of the past couple of months have provided little in the way of entertainment opportunity. Bars, restaurants, public spaces, they've been shut down. People were discouraged from being people, and instead they were forced to remain inside, no human contact. We were told social gatherings are bad. Social gatherings could kill you. So what do I do when I'm told that? I search the lore. And by the lore, I mean movies. Instances of movies that either prove or disprove that social gatherings are deadly. So in this episode, I am going to call it Movies We Love. Social gatherings are dangerous. Dale and I are going to go through 4 movies where essentially people gathered and people died. So Dale's going to try to live down the Greasy Strangler and give me
I'll never live that down.
He's going to give me 2 new recommendations this week. And I have 2 as well that I gave for him. So welcome back, Dale, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. So the 4 movies, I'm just going to lay it all out for everybody. The 4 movies we picked, they're all relatively recent. You can find them all on Netflix or Hulu or HBO Go, anything like that. So they're not hard to find. They're not difficult to get. The first one is The Invitation. It is a movie from 2016, 2015. We have Ready or Not from 2019, The Lodge from 2019, and finally The Hunt from 2019. So we have a lot of options here for you all. And we're going to start with you, Dale, and we're going to talk about The Invitation. So this was Dale's recommendation, and I'll make sure that I go over here and I pull it up into the other side too, so you can actually see the posters for the movies that we're talking about as well for just a moment, so you can see what we're looking at. There are actually a few movies that are called The Hunt, obviously, but The Invitation's the first movie, 2016. Logan Marshall Green. I don't know a whole lot about Logan Marshall Green. He kind of reminds me of the poor man's Tom Hardy. Maybe he looks kind of like Tom Hardy.
I've heard that before.
You have
I've heard that? Yeah, but it's so funny. Like I didn't get that vibe from him. Like I didn't make that connection till way later, and it's definitely not in this movie. Like he's got a beard and long hair, and oh God, he looked more like Guy Pearce in this picture than he did, and maybe because we've seen Guy Pearce with various beards and things like this.
Well, he was
that was the vibe.
Yeah, he's definitely Shaggy. Definitely Shaggy in this movie. Mm-hmm. But again, he's in this movie. Michael Huisman, I'm not sure how to say his last name, was also one of the leads. He's one of the people you would definitely know his face. He was on Game of Thrones. He was also on The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. That's the main guy, the husband. I can't remember his name, honestly. So those 2 are well-known faces. The rest of them were not as well-known. But again, Dale, I'd like to give you the opportunity to set this up for us and tell us what you think. And again, we're going to go by the Diamond Dale scale, 5 diamonds being this is without equal, and and then it goes below that and goes down to that. Anything 1 or less, and we probably shouldn't be reviewing it. We should be just trashing it. But we're not going to do that. These are all good movies tonight. I will start off right there. So go ahead, Dale. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Sweet Pete, you never need to be sorry with me, brother.
I appreciate that.
The reason that I picked The Invitation was not only is it one of my favorite movies ever, but I think it's a perfect movie. And I felt like this is new Hitchcock. This is like all the things that you want out of a movie. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't figure out if this person's having a mental breakdown, or if everybody else is wrong, or who's wrong, or what's happening. And so this thing just keeps escalating. There's these slow escalation of these weird things that are happening. And by the end of it, or, you know, by the time you're in it, it's too late. And then all of a sudden it turns into the movie that you may have thought you were walking into, but it's a slow burn, and it's so beautiful. And I watched it again before this, and I just thought, oh my God, I even know what's going to happen. And I still felt the anxiety and this pressure and this sensuality. And I think they did such a beautiful job. This movie's fantastic.
So a couple of disclaimers before we start then. So we are going to spoil all of these movies. Okay. So if you have not seen any of these 4 movies, and you don't want to be told pretty pivotal plot points or important scenes in the movie, you probably need to watch the movies first, come back, and then you can listen. You can enjoy our discussion of them. We're going to pick them apart. You know, I think that was something that we started to do the first time. Maybe didn't do it as well on the first one, and then we got a little more into it as the show went on. So from here on out, we're just going to go full bore. Okay.
Full bore, full tilt.
Full bore. So if you haven't seen the movies and you want to, pause, go watch them, come back. So for The Invitation, I'm going to give the synopsis real quick, the movie synopsis. While attending a dinner party at his former home, Will, who is Logan Marshall Green, thinks his ex-wife Eden and her new husband David, and that's Michael Heisman, have sinister intentions for their guests. So that's the setup. Will gets an invitation to a dinner party from his ex-wife and her new husband, and he ends up going to his house, his old house, for the dinner. And there is a collection of I guess they were their past friends, because he hasn't really seen their friends previously. I guess nobody has seen his ex-wife and her husband for maybe 2 years, I guess is what they were kind of alluding to. And so they all show up and they all collect again, and that's the setup. The setup is we're all going to have this welcome back. We're all going to have a nice dinner. We're going to get to know each other a little bit more again, and just reconnect. But you're right. From the start, you could tell there was something off about the two. Eden and David, turns out that they had spent the last couple of years in some kind of commune or religious sect in Mexico, and they have been changed. Something about them is different. Something about them is a little off. And and so it escalates from there, right? I mean, it escalates from there, right. And then you ultimately find out that their reasons for bringing these people in are not, they're not wholesome. You know, they're definitely a more sinister, but I don't feel like they thought they were sinister motives. They felt like, honestly, this was their opportunity to release some of the pain. And the reason that Will and Eden had been divorced is because their child died. So their child passed away. Will and Eden could not overcome that. They divorced from that. Eden met David, the new guy. They go off to Mexico to find something to help them heal their pain. And that's kind of why they're doing this now. So I gave the setup, and I agree with you. I definitely felt like when it came in, it was off from the start, even from like the first scene of the movie, when I don't understand the whole hitting the dog or hitting the wolf scene at the very beginning of the movie. You know, it just sets the tone already. It kind of throws you off right away.
Right.
It gives you some image of not necessarily graphic violence, but just a disturbing image. A disturbing, it disturbs you right away. So then your brain is still kind of thrown off. You're off kilter, so that when you get to the actual party, it just goes from there. I mean, I think that's probably the only reason they do that, because there is nothing else to it, right? They're driving, they hit something. He ends up having to mercy kill this animal, and it's just kind of a shocking thing right to start the movie. But go ahead.
Oh, Pete, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do want to say this, that okay, so let's talk about this. The coyote gets hit, right? Okay. So this couple's driving in this car, and they're talking about going to this party. All of a sudden, boom, they hit this coyote, and like it's a shocker to not only us as, the audience who's watching the story unfold. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what it's about. Boom. Like, can you imagine you're on your way to this party or this thing that you're sort of upset about going to in the first place? You hit this coyote. Okay. But then for him to get out and he kills it, he doesn't run it over. He gets a tire iron and, destroys the animal that way. But to me, that also demonstrates that he's willing to do something that's really uncomfortable for mercy. You're right. And I think to me, that could be a little bit of foreshadowing as well, where he's willing to do something.
He's a man of action.
Yeah. Yes. All right. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did want to I wanted to speak to that point because I thought it was super important. I mean, that's 2 minutes into the picture, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So initially, the setup is a very innocent one. You've got friends there. They're all very happy to see each other. Then he starts seeing these random weirdo people that are also in the home. Some random woman, and I couldn't tell if she was pantless initially when they first saw her. She had no clothes on before she comes rolling into the room. And then that other creepy dude comes in later. Pruitt comes in, just creepy.
Physically imposing, very strange, like awkward. And then, of course, he gets into a story, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Right. So they're there originally, and they're just kind of, they're making small talk. They're having a good time. David and Eden come in, and then they kind of start talking about their experience in Mexico and what it was like for them and how it allowed them to overcome their pain and get past their pain of loss that they both have had. And then they show a video of what was going on down there. And, what strikes me in this whole movie, what struck me is if it wasn't for Will, they would have absolutely got away with everything, everything that they eventually did. Because all of the rest of them were paralyzed by this social, political correctness, whatever it is. They all knew something was odd. They all knew something was weird. I could feel it. Every one of those characters knew that there was something slightly off about David and Eden, about Pruitt, about the other woman that came randomly in there. They all knew it was weird. The only one who acted on it was Claire, I believe was her name. And she's like, you know what? This is too weird for me. I got to get out of here. And she's the only one who actually physically said, I'm leaving, got up and left. All the rest of them were trapped in that realm of, they're not trusting their gut, and you have to be polite. You have to be polite even when you know something is off. And I think that was I really do think that was a great, it wasn't actually physically said, but it was a great commentary on the way the society is now. You do not want to offend somebody. You do not want to create waves or cause ripples. So you will sit and you will endure something that is potentially harmful or it's definitely uncomfortable, just so that you don't offend someone. That's why I think that the whole thing stemmed from that. And he was the only one, Will was the only one that was able to call it out and say, this is odd. This is really weird. Why are, David's walking around locking the doors behind them, locking them in essentially. Why are you locking us in? Why are you showing us videos of, these people that you're in Mexico and they're dying? Why are you showing us that? That's not something we want to see.
Right. It's that slow build though. It's like this slow, like one little thing after one little thing. And it's like, so not only are these things compiling where typically you're thinking, okay, if there's smoke, there's fire. But the other issue is the reason that we don't totally trust Will is because we know that there's been some sort of trauma. And so we don't know if he's, is he messed up? And so is he crazy? Are the other people crazy? So I get what you're saying with this part, but the other part of it is, did you trust Will to begin with? Like saying, oh, he's clear. These people are clearly off and it's not him.
Well, I kind of felt the same way he did. So it wasn't, the way that they acted to me, they acted abnormal. They acted a little stilted. They acted a little odd. Again, as soon as Pruitt walked into the room, I was like, what the hell is that guy doing here? Why is he here? So that guy immediately put me on edge.
He's menacing.
Again, just socially awkward. Very, standing off in a corner behind everybody else. Why are you standing behind? Why are you sitting behind me? Why are you, in my blind spot, as it were?
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
So I didn't like that from the start, but so it's hard to say, and you start, because this is one of those movies that makes you think. If I was in that situation, how would I react to what they were doing? Would I just sit there and not say anything? Would I laugh it off like a couple of them did while it was going on? Tommy and his boyfriend were just laughing it off. Oh, this is just fun. Claire took it very seriously and decided she was out. Will kept challenging David. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Just blatantly challenging him. And, so it is one of those things that makes you think, what would you do if you were in that situation? It's an everyday situation. Right now, there's nothing actually physically happening. Right now, it's just uncomfortable. So what would you do?
Right.
And then David, eventually he sees Eden stashing something in a drawer. He goes into the room, he pulls it out, and it's drugs. It's a
barbiturates,
powerful drugs. And he's wondering, why do we have these? And so, I mean, I don't know. I'm telling the whole movie here. So what do you give us more of the setup?
Well, look, you nailed it. But I felt like when I was watching it, though, I still felt like I wasn't 100% on board that Will wasn't crazy or having a moment where these were all the things that are in his mind or that he's built up in his mind. Because, and the reason it's a slow build is because there's something that could explain away most of this stuff. And it even up to the point where they're like, where's Chow or Cho or whatever his name is,
right?
And then all of a sudden he shows up. So at that point,
that was the one bone they threw you that made you did make you start to doubt Will. But that was really late in the movie. Up to that point, they had just done thing after thing after thing, which sided with Will. And then right there before the climax, essentially, right before the climax, they just gave you enough to think maybe he's been wrong the whole time. And make you doubt yourself, because you were definitely with him the whole time.
Right. So getting back to, I think it was Claire, but and of course Pruitt, when she's like, I can't take any more of this. I'm leaving. Right. I'm going. You guys do your thing. And it is pretty funny because there's all these little moments that keep adding up to a very uncomfortable thing. She was just like, look, I'm not comfortable. I'm going to leave. She gets up and she leaves, and all of a sudden Pruitt says, "Oh, excuse me, are you in the Prius? Let me move my car and park behind you." And the way they shot that, so Will's looking out the window and watching, making sure she's okay. And the shot was so beautiful because it's like they show her, she's leaving, he walks away, and he's like, "Oh, one more thing." And then that's when David comes up, so you can't see what's happening because the reflection's now blocked, and so you don't know if Pruitt ended up killing this
harming
woman,
her in some way.
Yeah,
if she actually made it out.
Yeah, exactly. And we hope she made it out. But he comes back in. He's wearing a jacket, or he has a jacket hanging over his arm. So you don't know if he just strangled her, or he has a gun under there, or beat her to death, or a knife. Who knows? It's so smart. The whole thing is so smart. And by the way, Pete, the other thing we didn't talk about is the music. So that's the soundtrack, or this music where it's almost like it's so menacing. It's as menacing as anything else, and that's like the cue. That's like, hey, there's a bad guy, or something's off here, and it was really unsettling. That was for me huge. Yeah,
you are always more. You and I are. You're much more the aesthetic. The camera angle, the camera shot, the way that the music builds into it. And I agree with you, definitely. If you throw a couple of negative or minor chords in there, and it just kind of throws you off, and just it's not pleasing to the ear, and then it does make you a little more anxious, and that just feeds into the overall anxiousness of the entire situation. So they're going on through the night, and just one more thing after another keeps kind of building up. Will keep seeing things that independently, if you just saw one or two of them by themselves, no big deal. But when you start seeing her with the drugs and, just some of the ways that they were kind of, whispering to each other, or, the weird video that they're showing, the weird story that Pruitt is telling about, this guy killed his wife, essentially. I mean, not essentially, he did. He killed his wife, spent time in prison. And here he is sitting here talking about, well, I went down to Mexico and I've released all that. And okay, so now you know that this guy is dangerous too. Now they've introduced the fact that not only is he creepy, he's dangerous. And, he's sitting over my shoulder, and he's that dangerous. And again, he's a big man. So again, they just keep heaping on the discomfort until they finally get to the dinner, and they're at the dinner, and then Will snaps at the dinner. He'd been challenging him up to that point, and that was when he actually really snapped and just kind of went sideways on them. Yeah. What is going on here? What are you doing? Where's Cho? Why do you have these drugs? He just starts pouring out. Why are you locking us in? All of these things that all of them should have been noticing, quite honestly. For sure. All of them should have been noticing and agreeing. But he was the only one with the balls to say it at that point. And that's where I was thinking to myself, they are all so tied into that societal norm that you cannot offend, or you can't question somebody's motives anymore. You can't just say, what are you trying to accomplish? And that really set the tone. And then where's Cho at? Where's Cho? And then suddenly Cho appears, and you're like, oh shit, he's been wrong the whole time. He's a crazy man. You're right. He's crazy. And then it turns out, they're here, let's have a toast. And they all have their wine. And he's just about to drink this wine. And then it all kind of clicks in his head, and he's thinking to himself, this wine's poisoned. And again, you're thinking, well, he was just wrong about Cho. He was just wrong that where's Cho? And so is he now still just wrong and suspicious as hell, and just making this whole situation terrible by being such a I don't know what the hell he's going on, but he ends up slapping the wines away and don't drink it. It turns out the wines are poisoned. The wine is poisoned. And so then again, he is right. These people are trying to kill us. And then from there, there's a inevitable battle that occurs. And there was a payoff there. They were absolutely right. And again, that's when you said, to the point where it got to the movie that you thought it was going to be. It got to where you thought it was going to be. That these people were actually up to no good. They were not. But again, there was a scene there with David and Eden after the shit had gone down, and they're all kind of scattered to the wind, and a couple of them had been killed at that point. And where they're talking, and they say, this is what we have to do. Eden doesn't want to do this. Eden doesn't want to kill these people. But Dave's this is what we've been told we have to do to release our pain, and we have to, so that we can go and all be, be free. So I was never really sure if they invited the people that they love, or they invited people that they hate. I mean, I guess they invited people that they love, but why are you killing those people? Are you killing the people that you love so that when you kill yourself, you're all together? Or are you killing the people that you hate, that you feel had something that wrongs you in some way? I don't know, but I did think that. What are your thoughts?
That's really interesting. I had not thought about it that way before. I knew that I was under the impression this was kind of like a Jonestown type of, we're going to do a suicide pact. But they just didn't tell the other people that they were doing it, and if you think about it, like all the things they were talking about was saying, oh, look, it's okay. There's no reason to fear death, and we're going to, go to the light or whatever they're talking about. And so even the video they played was about this woman dying, and she was at peace. Okay. So, and he's like, look, it's okay to be at peace while you're dying, or it's a peaceful thing, etc. So my take was, these were their closest friends in their previous life before their child died. This was their gang. These are the people they felt closest to, and they wanted them, in their mind, they wanted them to go to Valhalla with them, or wherever the spaceship was in their mind, or whatever. They don't really go into that kind of detail. But I believe that the reason that they did it because they loved those people. And again, if you look at the way that, what was her name? What was Will's ex-wife's name?
Eden.
Eden, yeah. Did you see the way she looked at him when he first showed up, and the way that he looked at her, and then can I have a glass off the thing? I mean, there was like this very sexual, sensual thing happening. And of course, her in that dress, number one, it's like a wedding dress / sacrifice dress / you know what I mean? She just looked amazing, you know?
Right.
But like, so I saw it as like they wanted to be with those people, like these, you know, if this is going to be their gang in the afterlife, and that's where they, you know, they wanted to bring all these people with them. So that was my take.
Okay. Well, and then the closing shot of the movie, because what ends up happening is it does not go well for all of them. It does not go well for David and Eden or Pruitt, and a couple of the invitees do survive, which is always nice. Then they go outside at the end, and they look out on the hillside in California. They look out on is it California? I think it was, right?
Yeah, it was Los Angeles.
They look out on the hillside, and
canyon.
Will had watched David walk out into the backyard previously and set up a red lantern outside, and he wasn't really sure why he was doing that. And then the last shot is, you know, they hear police sirens in the background, and they look out onto the hillside, and they see these red lanterns all over, littered all over the hillside. All these other followers of this you know, religious sect cult.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing that kind of weaved through all of these movies was definitely some type of cult involvement, religious involvement in some ways. But so you kind of get the sense that, boy, this was a coordinated act. There was a lot of these exact scenarios playing out all over this hillside tonight. And then it kind of, you know, then I always think to myself, boy, that leads you to believe, you know, what's going on in these other places. You heard random screams, you know, like
sirens.
You heard the police coming, and you just wonder, you know, what happened on some of those other places.
Right.
But so yeah, I mean, I don't know if I missed any points to the movie. You know, the idea, it was a slow burn. It was a good suspenseful movie. You weren't sure if it was hard to trust yourself because you definitely thought that they were up to no good. Their intentions were not pure. But again, you are conditioned not to question somebody's motives at this point in our society. Yeah. You can't do it. So, and then there were just enough bones they threw to make you think that, okay, they're just awkward. They've been gone a couple of years. They're trying to work their way back into how society really works. And, but then no, it turns out that you were right. The payoff was you were right. The way you felt was correct. They were up to no good. And, Will was ready as a man of action. He was ready for action when it happened, which is good.
Wait, Pete, I just thought of something. Like, so let's look at this a different way. So the viewer is sort of like Will, and he's very skeptical of everything. And you want to say something you're the viewer, you know, you're watching, so you want to say something, but then all of a sudden they say, well, here's Cho, so everything's fine or whatever. And so you were being polite as an audience, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Then all of a sudden you knew you were right, and you're like, God damn it, I knew I was right and I should have said something. Or, you know what I mean? Like I shouldn't have fallen for the one moment where they thought they made me feel like I was the crazy one.
Right.
So I just had that concept while you were talking about that. But anyways,
it's definitely a see something, say something movie. You see something.
Yeah.
You know, Will saw something and he said something. The rest of them did not. They kept pushing it down until it was too late for most of them.
Right.
You know, word to the wise. So, Dale.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go ahead. You know, on the Diamond Dale 5 diamond scale.
Yes.
What would you put this movie? And obviously, would you recommend it?
Diamond Dale scale, 5 out of 5. Perfect movie.
Dale has got a perfect movie.
Perfect movie. This movie, love it. It's perfect. There's nothing bad about it. It's perfect.
Well, damn. All right.
Yes.
So you definitely recommend it.
To a friend or an enemy.
I also recommend it. Yes. I don't know that I'd go 5 because 5 is pretty damn high. I wouldn't go 5 almost for anything.
Apocalypse Now?
Probably
Godfather?
Not. No, I still wouldn't go 5 for a Godfather. Maybe
Memento?
no, maybe Gone with the
Star
Wind.
Wars?
Gone with the Wind 5. But maybe Last of the Mohicans 5.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Oh my God, Last of the Mohicans is so good.
But the music too, that's fantastic.
The music,
everything about the movie.
Scenery.
That was a great movie. Everything was perfect.
The greatest 5 minutes of movie making in any movie ever. 5 minutes. Not a word was spoken. Not one word was said when Uncas goes to fight Magua on the cliff. Nothing was said, but they said everything. They said everything they needed to say between each other and never spoke a word. It was fucking incredible. I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, maybe that one's 5. But
that's a great movie.
So I would probably go. I'd go a solid. You're gonna hate what I say. I'm gonna go.
Oh my God.
3.75, 3.5, 3.75.
Look, you have very high standards.
No.
Start by saying that.
No,
and I'll say that's fair. That's
and again,
fair.
I'm saying it's a good movie, and I also recommend it to people, and you will enjoy it. It was just basically a 2-hour window into these people's lives, and you definitely saw some psychological things there. But I enjoyed it. Yes, I don't know that you'll know that I enjoy it as a 5-star.
Oh my God, it's 5 all the way. It's so damn good. Yeah, I love that movie.
That's awesome. I think we definitely agree that we would both recommend it, and it is not a waste of your hour and 40 minutes for sure.
No, it's a how would you describe it? Psychological thriller?
Yes.
With horror elements? What?
I was never scared. I don't think it's horror at all. I absolutely think it's psychological. Totally. Right. I think it's total psychological from the point where you're not sure if he's unstable. He actually admitted he's unstable. So he actually said that he was messed up at one point. Yeah. So he admits he's unstable. The hosts are obviously unstable. Pruitt is obviously unstable.
Super
and then these people
unstable.
just get, and these other people, these other collection of 6-7 people, they just get caught in this meat grinder. And that's really it. Wrong place at the wrong time for those poor people. They just got caught.
Or maybe not. Maybe they're in Valhalla right now having a blast.
That could be.
Maybe they're in the light right now.
That could be. But no, I mean, I can't really point to one detraction or anything like that I would say, boy, I really wish I had more of that. I really don't think that there was anything like that I felt it was missing necessarily. No, I mean, no, I enjoyed it.
Did you get your money's worth?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
That's important. Okay. So now, that's where we base things on these days. Did you get your money's worth? Is it good content? Is it a great movie? So, it's like the new scale now. It's like people talk about, oh, this movie was so good or whatever. And, it's like, I mean, how many things have you watched? You're like, oh, it's good content. Like I'm glad I didn't pay for it, but it's like
most,
had you, if you shelled out $12, you'd be like, oh, that was dog shit. But
most things. Yeah, for sure.
It's all relative now.
It really is. And it really, the only difference in our diamond scales really just comes down to personal taste. I mean, there's really no different, just personal taste between people. There's no difference.
For sure.
I mean,
For sure.
So I definitely liked it. It was better than anything that was recommended last time, for sure.
I agree. I will agree with that.
There you go.
A perfect movie for me.
So okay. So I'll go next. And then I said to you, I recommended a movie called Ready or Not, and it was a 2019 movie. Samara Weaving is the main character, and Samara Weaving, you've seen her potentially in. She's relatively new, young woman. You've seen her maybe in another Netflix movie called The Babysitter, which is also a great movie. Fabulous.
That's a great movie.
Oh my goodness,
amazing.
So good.
Perfect.
We'll have to
another perfect
review that one at another time. That was I would
love to.
That was close to a perfect. It was great for what it was. Right. Adam Brody's in it. He's a face Trust me, you may not remember the name. Andy McDowell from back in the day is in it, and the synopsis is: a young woman spends her wedding night with her new husband's family. Unfortunately, it turns out that the family has a ritual to welcome her that's a night-long life or death struggle. And the setup is Samara Weaving here. She is she's marrying into a family of they're millionaires, billionaires. They own NFL football teams and stuff like that, but they made their money in board games, in gaming. And so she's marrying one of the sons. She's there for the night, and after the wedding, he tells her, well, at midnight, it's just a family tradition. We all meet in the game room, and we draw a card. You draw a card, and then whatever name comes up on the card, that's the game we play. So it could be any name. It could be Old Maid. It could be War. It could be Parcheesi. Whatever that card pulls is the game we're going to play. And so she thinks it's a little bit weird. Okay. But she goes for it. And so then they're all there. It's her husband, his brother, his sister, his mother and father, his aunt, and then they're all of their husbands and wives. And so while they're there, the father tells the story about how the LaBelle gaming empire was built, or I guess Mr. LaBelle is the person, and it was his grandfather who met Mr. LaBelle on a merchant ship, and they worked out a deal that Mr. LaBelle would support his whatever his ventures would be, but obviously there would be a cost. And you don't really get it. They're kind of walking around it at that point, kind of dancing around what they're really talking about there. But then he starts handing around. He's like, "But Mr. LaBelle gives them this box, and this box is we put a card in this box, and then you open the box, you draw the card, and whatever's on the card is the game we'll play." So they pass the box around, and she opens the box. She pulls the card, and the card says hide and seek. And then everybody's face changes, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And turns out, Mr. LaBelle is the devil. The family has made a deal with the devil for their wealth, for their power, and every now and then, when a new member joins the family, they will pull a card. It will say hide and seek, and you hide, and we seek you, and if we find you, we're going to kill you. Yeah. And so then the rest of the movie is them chasing her and trying to kill her, and just kind of the scenes that come from that. So for me, okay, so we start there. That's the setup.
Wait, the setup. Pete.
Yes,
Pete. Now the thing you're missing here is, at least the thing that I really, or at least landed with me, was that the family is under the impression if they do not find this woman, or whoever the person is who drew that card, if they don't find and kill that person by dawn, then something terrible is going to happen. They're going to die some horrible way. So throughout this movie,
right?
Yeah, you're not thinking like, is that real, or are these guys? Is something like this really going to happen, or is it just? They don't know any better. They think they're going to lose their fortune, and they just for luck or whatever.
It was a tale. It was a tale that they've been told forever. And so Grace is her name, by the way. Grace is the bride's name. So they've been told that if they don't play this game, and there have been people in the past who refused to draw the card. So they refused to draw the card, and those people all died. They died different ways. They weren't really sure. Again, it was ambiguous. Well, they died not. He's like, well, they died in a house fire. I mean, they didn't really die. They didn't, just croak and the devil didn't come and take them. They died in a house fire, but they died, and they didn't draw a card, and they died. So again, it was one of those same setup as The Invitation, where is this real? Is it just mythology? There were clues there that it is real, but then you're logically thinking, oh, come on, that you don't trust it. You don't trust yourself. So Grace then goes and for the rest of the movie, she is trying to evade them while they are trying to kill her. And what makes it funny is it's funny. It's not. It is. It's basically almost a comedy. There are horror elements to it, maybe, but I was never really scared. There is some gore to it, but even the gore, it's almost like a Tarantino type gore where somebody will die and you're laughing about the fact that they died, which is odd, right? That's a weird juxtaposition of the norm, because somebody will be killed accidentally and you're laughing about it. You're like, oh no, you know, somebody else gets killed. So, I mean, I loved the movie because it didn't take itself seriously. You know, it was quote unquote lighthearted, as lighthearted as a deal with the devil and hunting somebody down to kill them can be. It was, the writing was very smart. It was very funny. And Grace, Samara Weaving, really sold the character. I mean, she played the character incredibly well. You really got a sense that this was really happening to her. And that's hard because she was hysterical at points. She was mad at points. She was not, you know, sometimes she was incredibly capable and other times she was not. So it was very real. You know, sometimes you'll see movies where people are just suddenly, unexplainably, incredibly capable and much more capable than they've given you any indication of, i.e., Mandy, or I was just saying Mandy.
Oh, I see.
Where he was, you know, he was suddenly supremely capable, and where did that come from? And maybe The Hunt too. We'll get to that. But so the whole night was really just kind of one scene after another of them trying to chase her down, and not all of the family is really into trying to hunt her down. So they were all. So it was very realistic in that respect. You know, like some of them were gung ho. You know, we have to do this. Most of them were not. Most of them are like, well, you know, I can't tell if it's real. I don't know if it's real or not, but I will do it to save what I've got. Right. And that's what.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Well, I agree with everything you've said so far. It really was a super fun movie, and I guess it'd be black comedy, although it felt like they marketed it as a horror movie or something, maybe. And I think maybe I didn't see it in the theater. I didn't care to see it. It just kind of was like, I'll just wait for it to hit digital or something. And I really thought I knew what this movie was all about. I really felt like, man, I saw the trailer. I'm done. It's okay. Whatever. And I didn't even realize that was the same gal from The Babysitter. Which I absolutely loved. But so the thing that really the biggest moment that I had was like maybe 15 minutes in. I was like, oh my God, if you know what a movie's about, and you think you know everything about it, and you didn't really want to, you weren't that excited to see it, and you watching it and you're super engaged, that's a sign of a good movie, or like, or at least you're really enjoying yourself. So to me, that was like, then I was like, I'm in. The hook was so deep down my gullet by then. I was like ready to go, and I loved all of the elements of, like you were saying, like the surprise deaths and things like that. And they were funny. And it was smart, and it was interesting, and it was like a well done, a lot of fun movie. I mean, and I would have paid for that movie. Now, knowing what I know now, I would have like, oh yeah, that movie's definitely worth seeing in the theater if I had my druthers.
Yeah, the interactions between the actors were honest. The writing was very good, and so the interactions seemed real. They seemed realistic. Again, you had the husband and his brother. They were a part of this when they were kids. The very first opening scene showed the last time this had happened, and they were scarred by it, both of them. So neither one of them really wanted to be a part of it. And kind of, even though the brother had caught her at one point and let her go and gave her 10 seconds to go on and to run off, because he did not want to be part of it. If it had to happen, okay, but he didn't want to be the one to do it. So he kind of allowed her to escape and just kind of slow played it. But then again, at the end of the time, he catches her again, and he catches her again after the car rolls over, and he brings her back to the family. He has caught her 2 or 3 times. He puts her on the table, but then he poisons his own family so that she can escape again. He's 1 foot in and 1 foot out the whole time. And that's very real, though, because he has an allegiance to his family, but he doesn't want to be part of taking this woman's life either.
Yeah. Right.
So you could feel his conflict. And, but, you know, some of those characters were they were all in. They were ready to go. You know, the brother's wife was ready to go. She was looking to try to kill her the whole time. But
how many movies can you think of that are an hour and a half long where you see a character like that have so many, it's not hypocritical. It's basically where they change their mind, or there's something deeper than just I'm here to kill you, or I'm just want to be rich and this is okay. Where he actually, you know, he flip flops, you know, and it's like, and typically that's just not okay. You know, you just don't see that, and certainly in a movie like this. So, anyways, I like that part of him, and then of course, the husband, you know, this whole time during that movie, you know, he was like, baby, I didn't know this was going to happen. I mean, I didn't know you were going to pick that card. I'm really sorry.
Right.
You know, I'm going to get you out of here. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got this. And he's really working hard. He escapes to save her. He beats up his father to save her. He does all this stuff. And then, Pete, what happens?
But then at the end, when it comes right down to it, he also he doesn't know if it's real or not. And he doesn't want to die. You know, he's been told that if he doesn't do this, he's going to die. He's going to lose everything. So at the end of it, he falls into it. You know, he falls into it also. And
were you surprised?
Yes, I was surprised.
I was not expecting that.
I was surprised, but then I wasn't surprised because the whole movie were very real people. You know, the brother was a real person. He waffled back and forth the whole time. He never really understood. He never really wanted to be a part of it. But then he couldn't come all the way out of it either. You know, he had this allegiance to his family at the same time. So he would do just enough to placate them and then just enough to keep her alive all at the same time. And so, the husband, the same way. Why go through all of the hassle to escape the, you know, he was handcuffed to the bed. Why go through the hassle of escaping if you're just going to locate her, find her, and then change your mind, and then fall in with the rest of the family and try to sacrifice her? Why do that? You know, why? So, I just thought that the whole thing, their interactions were incredibly honest. They were real. They felt like real people. She was so great in the movie. I mean, her reactions, the way she looked at you, the way she screamed, she played the part so well, and it was so fun. And the payoff, just like in The Invitation, you're kind of given the payoff. The payoff is, oh, okay, so it's true. I wasn't crazy. It's true. You are doing this.
Yes.
Ready or Not, the payoff was, oh, okay, it's true. It is a deal with the devil, and you are going to explode if you don't kill her by dawn. Yeah. And then these people start exploding, and that's just that was the funniest damn scene, because these people
amazing.
Are trying to beg for their lives, and then poof, they explode, and it's just disgusting, bloody mess.
Yes. And we were waiting for something, like, you don't know, like, again, is it, are they, they're probably, look, they're just worried they're going to lose their money. No, like, at the end, it was as real could be. And that was so cool and funny. You're right, because what you weren't expecting to see that, especially in that way. Maybe like, oh, I'm just going to have a grip or fall down. They're literally, their heads explode.
Their whole bodies explode. And then the last shot is basically her. She survives, sitting in front of the house that's burning down, and so again, it's a 12-hour look into her life as she runs from these people, but it's done in an incredibly fulfilling way. You are you laugh, you are invested in all the characters. The music is great. The Ready or Not theme is fantastic. But
wait, Pete. Let me ask you one question.
Yes.
When she was sitting there on the steps, what were you thinking about her character and the future of her character? Or did you think of that at all?
Well, when I saw her sitting on the steps, my thought was, well, she's the last one of that family left. And now this is all hers.
Yes.
So now she survived, and now all this wealth is hers. Yes. So they have to kill her to keep their wealth, or she survives and takes all of their wealth. You keep what you kill, essentially, is what it is. So that was the opinion I got of it.
That was the same thing I was thinking too. And I didn't know if it was like, you know, how you're at the end of that movie and you're happy that she survived because, you know, you do absolutely love her because she's such a rad gal, you know, and she just went through so much stuff. But literally, like, I was sitting there thinking, like, she's on the steps, and I'm thinking, oh my God, so she's legally married to this dude. Everyone in the family is dead. They just, you know, because of the pact with the devil, they're all gone. There's no one else to leave that to. She's the sole remaining member legally of that family. So that's she has that all of that. So, you know,
was it worth it? So was then the act of being hunted all night long and tried to be killed and sacrificed all night long. She got shot at one point. You know, she's definitely stabbed, but now she's a billionaire. I mean, it's worth it. Right. She's a billionaire. And she was a foster child growing up, so she had nothing growing up, and now she has everything. So she went through this trial, and she's got everything. And then you almost start to think, is that why Mr. LaBelle gave her the tip of the cap? Is that why he chose that option for her? Is that why he said, okay, you weren't given all the advantages growing up like these people were from me, from generations. You had to earn it. So, you know, he tipped the cap to her, and here it is. The keys to the kingdom. It's yours. Yeah. So that was awesome.
It was really cool. I'm really glad you picked that one, by the way. And I think I even called you like after that, just texted you.
You did text me.
That was really cool. Yeah. Like I said, if you think you know what something's about and you're just kind of like, whatever, and then you watch it, you're super engaged. I'm like, son of a bitch, Pete, you did it again.
Just did it again to me. That's right.
Yeah.
So on the 5 diamond scale, and again, the first 2 movies are definitely different. They're not the same type of movie, but I would give them about the same. Personally, I'd give it about the same rating. I was as entertained on both of them, just in different ways. One, I was psychologically thinking about, because I like to put myself in those situations, like on The Invitation. What would I do if I was there? Would I have called those people out for being weird? And you like to think that you would. And
probably not, though.
But maybe not. Yeah. And I always take it back to there's a movie called Dawn of the Dead. It was the remake. It was like 2010 or whatever, 2012. The remake. Yeah. And there's a scene right at the beginning of it. And their very first scene was where the main character is laying there with her husband, and he wakes up in the morning and sees this little girl in the shadow. I don't know if you've seen that movie, where he sees that little girl in the shadow, and then she steps forward and she's kind of mangled, and he's like, "Oh no!" And he runs over to her to try to help her, and then she eats him and kills him. And I thought, "Fuck, that would be me. I would have died within 2 minutes of this movie because that girl would have been in the door, and I would have gone to help her." And now I'm dead.
Right off the rip. Yeah, right off the rip. If we're trying to help somebody, that's what you get.
That's right. And you put yourself in that. And so that movie always gets me because I think to myself, in that situation, I would have done exactly the same thing and I would have died. So I like those movies where you put yourself in the situation. What would you do? Would you actually have knocked the wine glasses out of somebody's hand and say, "Don't drink this"? I don't think that I would have. But I don't think that I would have stayed. I think that I would have been more like Claire, and I would have just left. So you people are out of there. You're weird. I got to go. Yeah. You know, hey, by the way, I didn't realize that I had an appointment here. My bad. I can't make it for dinner. And I'm out.
I got a gig tonight. I got to go.
Yeah. Oh my, I didn't realize we were playing tonight. I'm out.
Yeah.
I would have done something like that. But so they're different. But for Ready or Not, again, just straightforward fun. Straightforward. I would probably go again, 3.75-ish. For what it was, totally enjoyable. You spend an hour and a half, you laugh, it goes quick. There are no slow parts of the movie. It's just from the setup on. The first 5 minutes are slow because it's setting you up, and then as soon as they say hide and seek, boom, it's off and running, and it's paced very, very well. There's a lot of danger going on there, and there's a good payoff.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm going to go 3.75 with you on this that scale. I mean, really, there's so many good things about this movie, and frankly, it's like they didn't have to do a big like front end load in on story or building those characters. You found out everything you need to know about those characters 10 minutes in, or for one of them, the husband, hour and 20 minutes in. But I mean, it was cool because that's when you actually got to see, you didn't have to say this person's name is so-and-so and this is their background. It's just like, here it is. We're just going to drop you right in the middle of this. So 3.75, fantastic. Loved it. Tremendous.
Yeah, they actually did more setup on those characters in about 3 minutes than I think that they did in the other movie. And I mean, really, I didn't really know anything about David. I knew more about Pruitt than David and what David's issue was. I know that David also had some issues, but I knew more about Pruitt because he told me. But it's so funny how with very little exposition, it takes very little time to set up who you are in a movie. That girl Grace in Ready or Not set up who she was in 3 minutes. 2 minutes, just a little bit of exposition between her and her husband, and you got an idea of who they both were very quickly. Yeah. So it always surprises me when when it doesn't happen in a movie. It just seems lazy when it doesn't happen. Yeah. And I don't know who you are and why. You could do it in 5 minutes, the max 5 minutes. So I enjoyed that. So before we get to the next one, I'm just going to let you know now that I'm probably going to have to cut this into 2 parts. So I'm going to say, pay attention, come back and see us again for part 2 of our movies that we love. Social gatherings are dangerous. That's what we're calling this. And, again, there'll be a second episode of that. So we're really glad that you came by. We talked about the first 2 movies right now. We're going to talk about 2 more here in part 2. And come back and join us again. Thank you so much for hanging out at the Prove Me Wrong podcast. Before I go tonight, I do want to say our episode tonight, we're brought to you by Javaremix. Javaremix is the perfect blend of 100% organic Arabica coffee infused with nano-emulsified CBD. You can start your day off on the right foot with a great tasting cup of coffee with all the demonstrated benefits of pure CBD. Javaremix offers traditional ground coffee as well as single-serve K-cups in both regular and decaf. If you aren't a coffee person, Javaremix also offers CBD-infused teas and even beauty products like bath bombs and body scrubs. As an added benefit for our Prove Me Wrong listeners, if you go online right now, that's javaremix.com, and enter the promo code Prove Me Wrong, you'll get an additional 20% discount off of your entire shopping experience. And Javaremix also offers free shipping on all orders over $40, so you have no reason not to give it a try. Once again, that's javaremix.com, promo code Prove Me Wrong. The Prove Me Wrong podcast is also brought to you tonight by ZendoZones citronella burners from JT Eaton. They're shaped like fearless little bug-repellent tiki gods, so you can let Surf and Stan, Hawaiian Howie, and Luau Lily bring the islands to your backyard with ZendoZones citronella burners. ZendoZones uses natural 3% citronella candles and incense cones, and they're perfect for patios, decks, backyards, campsites, poolside, and more. You can enjoy the outdoors again. They are available on Amazon.com and at select Ace Hardware stores. So go ahead and collect them all today. So once again, for my guest tonight, Dale Baker, Mr. Dale Baker.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for seeing me. It was great to see you, too.
That's right. It's good to see everybody here. Once again, I'm Pete Lieb. This is the Prove Me Wrong podcast, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.